What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here on Peg City Hockey, and I am so happy to finally say welcome back to the official recap reactions for the Winnipeg Jets 2022-2023 season. Now, before I dive in and start talking about the loss that just occurred, the 4-1 loss to the Dallas Stars in Game 2, I got to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, I did not cover the opening game of the season against the Rangers. Now, I apologize for that, but I have my reasons. Number one, if you guys haven't already known it, I haven't mentioned it because I don't know if I have mentioned it. I'm actually moving. So my family, we're leaving the house that we've lived in for 13 years. We're moving right now. So a lot of stuff to do. We're moving out on Saturday, so it's really been getting hectic in here, getting things ready, getting the new place ready and all that. So that is in the process right now, and I'm taking care of that, and we're taking care of that. But I just was so busy on the weekend. I had a concert. I had just all this stuff that just kept piling on top of all my other stuff I had to do on a long work week. I didn't have time to record. I wasn't home. I didn't watch the game at home. And I know I've made videos on my phone, but it felt like for the first game of the season, I needed to do it right. And since this is the last week that we're going to be doing it in the original setup, in the room that I started this channel in, I felt like it should be a little symbolic starting the season off in the place that it all started off for this channel. So welcome to the first video for games 1 and 2 for recap reaction. I apologize for being a few days late at this point, but I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, for the rest of this week, this might happen. I might combine a couple games. I don't know yet, but I'm going to do my best. Also, I won't be on the next episode of the Prairie Puck Podcast, just a heads up. Zach and Jackson will be taking care of that, and it'll be a great time. So stay tuned for that. And without any further ado, let's start talking about this first game of the season against the New York Rangers. And I'm going to keep it short because you guys have already probably seen the recaps and highlights. And again, shout out to Jackson and Zach, Jets Hub and Nolan Hockey Podcast for doing a great job covering these Jets games. And yeah, if you missed my videos, I bet you check theirs out. And if you haven't subscribed to them, their links are down in the description below. But nonetheless, that first game was everything you wanted it to be. Other than the fact that obviously Rick Bowness was out with COVID, and as he was in this game as well in Dallas. But nonetheless, though, Rick Bowness is out with COVID. He's fine, it looks like, so that's all good. But Scott Arniel taken over the reins as the head coach for the season opener, and the Jets played a great game against the Rangers. It was a tight game. It was a close game. There was a lot of good play. Were there some problems with it? Absolutely, but it was a season opener, and the spectacle of it was great. They won the game in really good fashion, too. I really liked the way that the bottom six played. I liked the way the forwards looked. I liked the way everything looked in that game, and I wasn't getting my hopes up for the whole season, but it looked kind of like a continuation from preseason based on what we saw on a lot of individual performances, and that's always good, right? Like this whole channel, I've always said on these recap reactions that individual performances in a hockey game is good, but you don't win games every night off individual performances in hockey. This isn't basketball. It's like football, hockey. All these games are different. Baseball too, even though baseball you can win off of one person. So I'll take that back. But in hockey, it's very, very dependent on how your team plays. And yeah, you can have lucky breaks and lucky performances that win you games. But when it comes down to it, to be a good, consistent hockey team and to have a chance to win, you need to play a full 60 minutes. Last season, the Jets didn't do any of that. And in the first game, I thought they played a pretty damn good competitive first 60 minutes. Did they have dips in their play at times? Absolutely. But it's hockey, it's sports, that's how it goes. So the first game I thought was a really good, coming out of the gate, welcome to the season with the new crew, even though it's not a new crew, game for this team and franchise. And I really like the result of it. Obviously, starting 1-0 is always a good start to the season. But in this game, second game against Dallas, Jets crash and burn. And I'm going to say something that I've said almost in every video last year for the Winnipeg Jets that's haunting them so far to start this season, even though it's very early on and it's not going to defy their year. God, I hope not. But nonetheless, not playing a full, consistent 60 minutes of hockey. If you do not play a full, consistent 60 minutes of hockey, giving it your all, you will lose the game. Doesn't matter how good your individual performances are, you need to give it your all. And the Jets at this point lost the game. They lost their, the wind from underneath them. They had no momentum, and they crashed and burned dramatically as the game went on. Obviously, that second period where you get those 2 goals that really open up the lead, make it 3-1 Dallas, that's kind of where it jumps off the page. But I would say that entire second and third period was like there was no stoppage in between and no intermission. It was just a continued 40 minutes of hockey where the Jets just played down and played down and played down to the worst levels of hockey that they can play. Dallas just saw the Jets' weaknesses early on in the season, things they were doing, their system and whatnot. Obviously, Rick Bowness and a lot of these players are familiar with each other, so they probably had an idea of what the system was too as the game went on. And after that first period where the Jets played really good hockey, dominated the start, and then obviously Sagan getting that goal, tying it up 1-1, still a very good, in my opinion, even first period of hockey, that final 40 minutes just tanked the Jets and having any chance on coming back. You can't win a hockey game when you can't score and get any good looks really on a 4-minute double minor. That Pionk power play in the fourth, in the fourth, what is this, football? In the third period was just a terrible example of this team not being able to get ahead of their demons and just get back in this game. Like, they had a chance to get back in this game. At that point, ladies and gentlemen, they still could have made it a game. I don't want to hear it. I know what they're down by, but you can at least score and make it more of an entertaining game and get some life back into you. And the Jets didn't do any of that. They were missing shots, getting shots blocked everywhere. This was a prime example of a team that read a system perfectly and counter-combated it and really did their best to come away with a victory in Dallas. And then this is the Jets just not being able to do anything different, rolling out a new system that they're still getting familiar with, being taken advantage of, and losing in hockey games. So this is something that was going to happen to this team early on in the season, unless for some reason they went completely undefeated, which I did not think was going to happen. But it harkens back to some of the things we saw in preseason as it progressed. Obviously, this team and the veterans are still, gelling with Rick Bowness and this coaching staff. Obviously, they've got a high praise that they've said so far, but they're going to do that, especially based on the locker room and stuff. The organization is really going to pump the brakes and tires, I should be saying, on pump the tires. Fuck, I lost my train of thought there completely. But that's how we do it here, ladies and gentlemen, on Pig City Hockey. This is one take recap reaction where I talk about the Jets game because that's how I like to do it, and I don't want to waste my time cutting out editing because I feel like I'm entertaining when I ramble, but I'm going to digress. I really just did not like this game, but again, it's so early on. This isn't going to defy the Jets season. I have no expectations going into any games this year, but it's just concerning because they had 40 minutes to get this play back up and at least make it entertaining and try to get back into it, and every time they tried, they were denied. And it was just continued the entire, basically 40 minutes of that game. And it was very unentertaining. And it was kind of sad to watch because you had so many opportunities. And it was just a prime example of Connor Hellebuyck doing everything he can until he can't no more. Some goals get by him that really aren't his fault because of bad defensive play in their own end, which we're going to talk about next. And it just haunted them all night. And again, this team, their defense, I just got to say this. I don't know how. I've said this 100 times, probably. Maybe more than 100 times. I don't understand why people keep commenting on my videos saying that Ville Heinola isn't ready, that Sandberg shouldn't be in right now. And again, if you believe your opinions on those guys, I understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is, how are those guys any worse than what we got on the ice right now at times? Now, I'm not obviously going to pick, Josh Morrissey did a good game tonight. He did his best to try to keep this team together, but the pairings aren't working. Like, Nate Schmidt and Logan Stanley just did not work from the first period. That was one of the biggest, no for me, the entire first period, and the entire game was the consistent, is Logan Stanley is bad. I don't know how many times I could just see him in an opportunity where the Jets may be able to get some momentum, coughing up the puck, just making bad plays. Now, he wasn't the only one. Don't get me wrong. The whole team played like crap tonight. I'm not just going to pick on Logan Stanley. I'm saying that right now. You guys know I can do that. I'm guilty of it, but not tonight. We're picking on Logan Stanley because he should not be on this team. And if you're going to have Sandberg rotting on the bench, at least rotate these guys in for the next game because it's early on. Figure out what's working. Oh, it's early on. We got to give them a chance. Why? These were problems in game 1, 2. They just were overshadowed by a winning performance. We just need to wake up a little bit with this team and get some more life into it. This team has a lot of potential. You saw the potential in the individual performances in preseason. Now, say what you want about NHL preseason. I don't care, but there's something with this team and the prospects. If you get that right group of guys working, now I'm not talking about Brad Lambert. Let him kill it in the AHL in the next year. Ooh, baby, the Calder race is going to be fun. But nonetheless, though, you got to get these young defenders in. I cannot harken on that enough. And again, what is Brendan Dillon providing that Dylan Sandberg can't? Don't say size. Don't say physicality, blah, blah, blah. Dylan Sandberg can do just as much as that if you give him an opportunity to play in the NHL consistently. He's not Ville Heinola. He will hit. But again, I just don't see what these guys on that third pairing and these defensive roles sometimes in the system, why they aren't putting more youth into it and figuring things out more. Because obviously this core didn't work last year and it's not going to work this year regardless of how good your system is, because a bad system and a bad core, swap out one of those things, still ain't going to necessarily mean you're a good hockey team. So the Jets need to get their defense under control. How many times have I said that? I don't know. And how many times have you said that? Watching me and watching the Jets and everything else and everybody else talks about the Jets, it's baffling at this point. Defense, do something to shuffle it up because it's just not worth it anymore. It's not worth throwing this out and seeing if they might have a good night. Just try something different and then see if they'll have a good night, because then you can roll with that. I miss the days when, you get guys that would come in and earn a spot and then they would just have that hot hand and the coach would roll with it and they would have ways to adapt their lineup. They wouldn't just take guys out, and the Jets have always done that. It doesn't matter who the coach is. They've always taken out these guys and put in the guys when they're healthy, even on the hot hand. And I don't know. I just feel like you got to switch things up and get this team going early, because I don't want to see them still at the trade deadline, making depth trades like Zach Sanford and Mason Appleton again, trying to say that we're competing, as well as selling off Pierre-Luc Dubois and who knows who else by the trade deadline if we're mediocre, because I don't want that. I don't want another year of just, let's trade the entire team and then, you know, be another year down the line and what's going on with our development and direction. We got to figure it out early. So I'm not saying the Jets are done. I'm just saying that, again, this game shows that there's a lot of problems still and that they need to restructure the squads and tweak some things, not dramatically, but enough to have something different where you don't get, you know, attempt after attempt moving up the ice, getting your pocket picked like they did tonight. It was just a bad night. You know, none of the systems were really working, so shuffle it up, get some new lines out there. The power play tonight was bad. Shuffle it up, move some guys around. I don't know how I feel about Gagne on there in the second unit. Move some things around. Just make it more stable. That's all you got to do. Like in the first game, you had a great spectacle of what hockey can be for the Jets this season, and it was so entertaining. And in this game, you had a great 20 minutes and a terrible 40, and how many times have I said that? So if this is the track that you're going to go down, we're not going to make the playoffs. Because in the past, when you've had games like this, they don't do anything to correct it. I think the next, you know, I'd say 5 games, the next 5 real games being against tough opponents, depending on how Bonus and the coaching staff, obviously Bonus isn't there, so I'm going to give it to Arniel and the rest of those guys, but obviously how they, in coordination with Bonus, handle the lineup, handle the changes, I think that's really going to set the tone for the season, because you got to get out of the gate hot. I know you're going to say St. Louis, I know you're going to pick these examples, I know, but at the end of the day, the Jets aren't those teams. They don't have those potential wild cards. They need to gel this team together, get them to buy in now, and try to make it work, because if you're out of the playoffs by trade deadline, I do not want to see the headlines with Pierre-Luc Dubois' name in them, because I can already feel the hairs on my back of my neck standing up, and I don't want to talk about trading off more stars, especially the guy we gave up in for the guy we got in return in the Patrick Laine deal, because you know how I feel about that. But nonetheless, though, to wrap up my thoughts, in conclusion for Game 1 and 2, so the yin-yang, basically, no, I'm just joking. But nonetheless, though, that really is how I feel. Like I'm not gonna deviate from that. It's a good game, bad game. I don't really care. So I'm doing them both. Like I'm not a mime. Ignore me. Cut the joke. No, I'm just joking. All right, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts about this game? Do you agree with me? What do you think the direction of this team needs to be? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, I apologize for missing the home opener. I know you guys like to look for these videos, and it really warms my heart how many people you guys care out there about this stuff, and we're asking where it was. So apologize. This week's gonna be crazy. Once I'm settled in, it's gonna be a nice new setup, nice new room, and it's gonna be the same old content you guys have been watching forever. So don't expect much to change other than the background. So have a great rest of your day. Subscribe to all the links down in the description below. Check out the Nolan Hockey Podcast and Jets Hub, and stay tuned for the latest episode of the Prairie Puck Podcast. Have a great rest of your night. Go Jets, go. Peace and positivity as always. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.